Rob, you've recently been appointed the first ever head coach of the England women's box lacrosse team. How does that feel, first of all?
I feel immensely proud. I mean, we've started the program a number of years ago, and to be able to be at the beginning of its inception to where we are now, and to have the opportunity to go forward with it, and hopefully have a successful tournament in a year's time at Utica in 2024. Yeah, great, great opportunity, and feel really blessed to be able to be in this position.
And like you mentioned, we're sort of just under a year away from the what will be the first ever World Lacrosse Women's Box Championship in America. Like you mentioned, and England are going to be taking part. How do you feel about coaching England to that tournament and in that tournament? Does it feel a bit nerve-wracking?
Naturally, I think that fortunately, back when the England box process started back in 2007, there was an idea conceived by Jamie Tasco. We went on a little plane to Prague and then off to Canada, and we sort of finished fourth in the world at that time. So short, sharp, sort of, and relatively pain-free. The difference we had then was we were used to playing field lacrosse with all the equipment. The women's program, we have different sticks, we have helmets, pads, gloves, and full contact, something that the existing women's field program as a non-contact sport clearly doesn't have. So from the challenges, yeah, we have some challenges, but they're exciting challenges, and the majority of people who have tried the sport so far are still in the sport. Occasionally you get the odd person who goes, yeah, not for me. And that is to be expected. And yeah, no, the idea of where we need to go, the challenges are definitely there for us.
Yeah,
Both for myself, coaching, and the players especially.
Yeah, let's touch on that again or a little bit further, just about the sort of women and the difference in the game. There's obviously been quite a bit of women's box lacrosse in England over the past couple of years, and you've been involved in that, and you've presumably had a good chance to see some of those players who want to be a part of the England team. So what's that been like? Has the standard been quite good, seeing as they're starting from a sort of a maybe not they've not tried it before?
Some of our players have played in the south of England. Some of the men's league allows women to play. So some of our players have already suited up and worn helmets and used sticks with pockets. Some people that have joined the program and are having a go didn't have that introduction, but have been sort of ducks to water, as it were. So from that perspective, really good. Some people, again, as with all disciplines, will find some challenges, and a men's stick, as per box, plays a little differently to one of the women's sticks that are in the game at the moment. But fortunately, the skill sets are the same, and if anything, sometimes the lacrosse IQ of a women's player is very similar to that of box in a lot of ways. They look at the same movements. So there's lots of positives that players that have started the game already look the part, shall we say.
Absolutely. And there's not actually a England women's box team just yet. We're still sort of in the process of selecting that. But could you just take us through the sort of the next steps for you and for sort of choosing that team?
So our coaching staff, myself and Scott Joyner, US coach, will be to host some open trials. I use the word trial loosely. More the open word would probably be the better option, just to get people to come and be involved in the game, to be able to show their interest in playing for us and with us. The present group that we have is quite tight knit, but we still have definitely space for a good number of quality players to join that group. As a training squad, we probably want to be looking at having 40 players, and as a program, we probably only think we've touched on 80 players across the last 2 years. So we still have some work to do on that. We have open trials on 21st, 22nd of October, which is sort of half-term weekend, which will either be good for some people or bad. Some people it's great, not school. Other people may be a little bit more challenged as it's school, as a bank holiday, and not half-term holidays, and therefore kids at home. So we'll be looking to do more things in the future. It's not just one chance pony on this, and the program is evolving. Somebody who wants to be involved today, there may be people who we still won't have touched or won't have even heard of box lacrosse come Christmas. And it may be a case of sort of like they're still looking at new players, different opportunities as the year unfolds. So lots of opportunities. We were looking to host camps, clinics. Most of our training at the moment is based around Oxford, because we have a facility there that we've been using, which is indoors. But Northern Box Lacrosse have got their facility in Macclesfield, which is more of a sort of like warm weather because it's outdoors. So we'll be using that as well. But I've spoken to a number of our players, and we're just looking at finding indoor facilities, sports halls where we can run some two-man game and get the basic skills across to people.
So it sounds a bit like the team and sort of the players, it's quite fluid at the minute. You're just sort of assessing things. Because my next question was going to be whether you've got any ideas about the sort of the type of team you'd like to assemble, or the types of players, or where you might go tactically. I don't know where you've got up to in that thinking, or whether it's just a case of trying to get people enthusiastic about the game and getting people involved.
I think the simple thing is that we've got box lacrosse is fast. Fast and furious probably is the easiest way of describing it. It's full-on physical contact. So players need to be fast of foot, fast of mind, fast of hand, and be able to think clearly under pressure. And those attributes, you probably find 3 out of the 4. It's not too much to ask for having 4 out of 4, I guess. But it is a case of taking people who are used to playing the women's game, where it is most of that, but without the full contact. And when somebody is cross-checking you and slashing you, it's something that you've never been used to in your formative years. Some people will take a little bit of getting used to. So from that point of view, what are we looking for? Players who can think and play under pressure, and relish that environment. Some people, you mention those words or that idea, and they look at you aghast. And some players might be just, it's almost like their eyes like saucers. They're sort of like, can't get, when's the next game? So as far as a game style, that is fluid at the moment, depending on the players that we have, available to us. We were very lucky earlier this year. We took a Ravens team to Prague to play in shoebox, and I would say a good number of players from that squad will be the nucleus of a Team England moving forward. Our present player base isn't as large as a normal England training squad would be, so we are looking at sort of what worked then and developing on that. So 12 months is a long time in sport, and if the players are happy to take on responsibility for fitness, for extra work, with a different stick, attending training, learning. I know that, Scott, whilst he's over in the US, has got plenty of video stuff. So when he wants to do something in training, he will have something to be able to go. He may not be there on the floor to be able to share it with us, but he'll be able to go, this is what it looks like. This is what I want. Off you go. So the ability for us to impart knowledge, once we've got those players together, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Cool. And you mentioned that you've sort of been there right at the beginning of England box lacrosse in terms of the men's game. I'm just wondering if you could take us a little bit through how you got involved in the women's game as well.
Well, the women's game, in 2018, we started Southern Box Lacrosse. Southern Box and Northern Box started more or less at the same time. And it was our intention that we would offer box lacrosse to men and women. The initial offering was to men because they already played. And we had a couple of women that would come along and play with the men's teams and train with us. So Mackenzie Peace was one of the first players that we had, joined us out in Lille, playing as one of the SBL capitals. In 2020, the intention was for us to start a full women's program, and we were sat in Lord Robert Centre on a Friday afternoon, planning our session that evening. Where we were supposed to have 40 women coming down. I had one young lady coming from Paris, others coming from further afield in the UK, and some notices were being put up around us. And we were like, what's going on? I said, oh, we're closing early. You can imagine our surprise. And that was the beginning of COVID. And the women's program, unfortunately, was literally stopped in its tracks in 2020. So plans were on hold. April last year, we had the opportunity for some players, so Lizzie Bottrell, Alice Lugren, and Issy from Camden were able to go to Prague to play in the inaugural She Box. I went out and joined and helped with the coaching, along with Brian Whitmer at that event. And that was where, the rebirth of the women's program occurred. And we came back with some lacrosse heads. We came back with a plan. And a number of weeks later, we ran our first session. And last October, we had our first opportunity at Boxfest 2022 to run an all-women's game. And it was the first time we'd done that in the UK. So from there, this year we took a women's team to Prague, and say for She Box. So from 3 players, we were able to take 20 this year. And at every training session, we find somebody that hasn't played before. So there's the growth potential is huge. And along that journey, sort of like there have been players who've been there from day one. And Lizzie, for example, is going out and running road shows now, taking box lacrosse to other people, doing stands at national schools and Bath 8s, and just sharing the love of the sport. So I've been lucky to be hanging on the coattails, sometimes pulling the coattails, but yeah, just along for the journey, and happy that people want to be part of the sport that I care for.
And just back to the World Championship next year. The men's competition is running side by side with the women's competition. Do you think that might help the women's team and maybe help you as a coach to have that interaction with the men's team while you're there, and to have sort of both England teams there at the same time? Will it help you, do you think?
From a perspective of a World Championship, I think it's going to create its own challenges. I don't know how they're going to schedule. I'm familiar with Utica as a venue. It's got 3 floors, so I'm sure games are going to be run concurrently. It'll put a stretch on resources for officials and for coaching. And I'm already aware that even for the build-up, there are only so many players in the UK and coaches. So I hope it's a real positive, but it will bring its own challenges just because there'll be so much going on. And when the men's team are playing, we could potentially be doing warm-ups or cooling down from a game. It depends on how the schedule runs.
Definitely. And just a final question. Have you got a message to any players out there who maybe they fancy trying out for the England team or just trying women's box lacrosse in general, but maybe they feel like they're not experienced enough? I know we've spoken a lot about people just turning up having not played box lacrosse before, but what's your message to them?
Box lacrosse is an opportunity for people to play, contact sports. It's an opportunity for you to come and try box. In some cases, an opportunity for you to potentially become an England player. Wherever you fit into that journey, there's no reason not to give it a try. We could have somebody that comes from a multi-sport background. They've played lacrosse in the past. They've gone to a different sport, looking to come back to lacrosse. We can work on skill set. Going back to the idea of being fast, having fast feet, fast hands, fast mind. If you have any of those, you're definitely part of what I'm looking for as an England player. If you enjoy having a little bit of physical contact in sport, box is definitely for you. So whatever part of the game you're coming from or looking at, there is definitely an avenue for you. And we have an England program that obviously has a endpoints in the World Championships in 12 months' time. But the women's program has started and will be continuing, and there'll be many more opportunities. Prague, April next year, looking to take teams, other tournaments. Whether or not it's a World Championships in 2024 or a Euros or a subsequent World Championships, who knows? I would never want to give anybody a reason not to come and try. Now we've got in our president's player pool players who are England under 20s, up to players who I don't think they would. I'd hopefully don't mind that me saying that they, in a couple of cases are in their 40s. So the breadth of our player pool is broad, and our breadth of ability is broad. So from a personal perspective, I was generally an athletic player, not necessarily the most skillful player. They found a place for me. So there's always an opportunity for people.